Good evening. As usual, I need to do an update on my computer. So I think, can you give me let me know if you can in the chat. Let me know if you can see the screen, see my screen with the presentation on. I think you probably are seeing it with lots of other stuff. It's not in presentation mode because every time I put it in presentation mode, it stops sharing. So let me know, give me a one in the chat box if you can see my screen with the presentation. Brilliant, brilliant. Brilliant. And I'd like to say thanks to Brenda, whose idea this was about supplementation in menopause. So how I'll run it, I'll present on it. I might ask you if you have any questions at the end, and then you can come on and chat or use the chat box at any time. So if you come on and chat, just unmute yourself. You don't have to show your video, just unmute yourself and ask your question. At the end, and I may ask a couple of questions in between. So I will get started. So welcome to the Kickass Midlife Method podcast on supplementation in menopause. From collagen to creatine, are supplements worth spending your money on? And what do they do anyway? So how many of you take supplements now? So let me know in the chat if you are currently taking supplements of any kind and maybe what those supplements are. So if any of you are taking supplements. So supplements, for instance, is a protein shake. So you all should be taking a supplement, at least of a protein shake. So let me know in the chat box whether you're taking supplements. So I think it's useful to think first, what is a supplement? Sounds obvious, but it's worth going over. So a supplement is obviously something that you add to something else to complete or enhance it. So in terms of menopausal women, or in fact, whoever you are, really most of what you should be getting or needing should come from your diet. But there are instances where you can't, for instance, get enough from your diet, and therefore supplements can be helpful. So in terms of the Kick-Ass Midlife Method, for instance, I always recommend that everyone in the program takes a protein supplement in terms of a protein shake, because it can be difficult for women to get enough protein from their diet. Particularly if you're really busy rushing around, then a protein supplement could be really useful. So that's an instance where supplementation is really useful. So supplements for menopausal women. So if you are on social media at all or listening to any radio programs, it's likely you're being hit by this algorithm that pushes this to you, and you're constantly getting things pushed at you, whether it's collagen, although I haven't mentioned this here actually, collagen, creatine, protein, magnesium, vitamin D, omega-3, all those kind of things. It might be popping up in your feed all the time about saying, take this, take that. So are they worth it? So let's approach creatine first. So what does it do? So creatine, it improves muscular strength, muscle mass, and enhances your muscle function. So half of our creatine intake, not including non-vegetarians, comes from our diet, and the remainder is synthesized in the liver. So there is actually, when it comes to creatine, there is actually lots of evidence to show that it can be really beneficial for women in menopause, perimenopause. So as we have a decrease in estrogen during menopause, that impacts our muscle mass, bone mass, and muscle strength. And Journal of Clinical Medicine shows that when combined with resistance exercise, so it's much the same as protein, for instance, then creatine can actually be really useful. So you may be able to get a lot of it from your dietary sources: beef, poultry, pork, fish, and organ meats. But the recommendation for creatine is that you have about 3 to 5 grams per day But the dosage recommendation to begin with, they recommend you take 20 grams per day for 5 days. So 4 to 5 gram doses every 4 hours, followed by 3 to 5 grams per day. So the recommendation is also that creatine, most of the studies have been done on creatine monohydrate, so not the micronized version. So Brenda, I think you've said you've tried it twice and it made you feel nauseous, which is interesting. It'd be interesting to see which type you tried. So the research shows that creatine, a good quality creatine, a creatine monohydrate is actually worth it when combined with resistance exercise. So there's no point just taking it if you don't do resistance exercise. All of you on this program listening to this live obviously are. So for you guys, it may be worth investigating. And then omega-3, healthy fats. So I know it can be, people can get a bit worried about their fat intake, but you really have got to not worry about your fat intake when it comes to healthy fats. So what do the omega-3s do? It helps to decrease inflammation, aid the absorption of vitamins, really good for your joint health, and actually hormone production. So again, the evidence is that omega-3s help to reduce the risk of heart disease, and that is particularly relevant for menopausal women. So menopausal women are at a higher risk of heart disease. So which is quite interesting because it's normally associated with something to do with like older men, but actually heart disease is increases as you get older as a woman. Or also decreases the inflammatory response, which leads to arthritis, IBS, and asthma, and potential benefits. So the research is still hazy around this. Some show that it does, some show that it doesn't, that it can decrease muscle soreness and increase your body's ability to synthesize protein to help produce muscle. And also reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety, which is interesting, particularly in menopause when hormone reduction can increase those feelings of depression and anxiety. So dietary sources, when it comes to healthy fats, you can mainly get this from your diet. So it's actually really easy to get from diet. So we're looking at, these are some of the best sources of omega-3s, anchovies, herring, mackerel, salmon, oysters, flaxseed, chia seed, walnuts, canola oil, and soybean oil. So if you look at the recipes that are provided in the Kickass Midlife Method, you'll see a lot of things like salmon recipes. There's been probably in the June recipes, things like having smoked anchovies on toast. They're really quick, easy things to do. Mackerel pâtés are really easy to do. So benefits of omega-3 when 1 to 3 grams daily are consumed. So for instance, 2 tablespoons of chia seeds are about 3 grams. 1 cup of walnuts is about 3 grams. But that's where it's really important to also be tracking, because 1 cup of walnuts is obviously also highly calorific in terms of its energy intake. So you need to balance your omega healthy fat intake with also what's the best way of taking that in terms of your overall macronutrient density per day. So chia seeds are probably really easy to do. Your smoked mackerel salad is really easy to do. Walnuts, be a bit careful. Protein. So what does it do? You should hopefully all know this by now. Protein helps repair and build your body's muscles. Also allows metabolic reactions to take place, and interestingly maintains proper pH and fluid balance, which is an interesting thing to note. So everything points to the fact that eating more protein is the best way to reduce age-related muscle deterioration and prevent sarcopenia. So according to the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, there's also a great deal of research that proves higher protein does help with body fat loss. So thinking about that is another reason why protein shakes are recommended in the Kickass Midlife Method. Dietary sources, again, meats, fish, legumes, vegetables, egg, dairy, and nuts. So again, thinking about your macronutrient density, it's balancing that protein with the lean sources of protein. Obviously, there's protein in cheese, but if you have loads of cheese, then your calorie energy intake is going to be massive. So you're balancing all that with a lean, a really good quality protein. And again, if you've been to listened to previous podcasts, then it's recommended about 1.7 to 2.4 grams per kilo of body weight for active women. So active women, you guys include it on this Kickass Midlife Method, then you're looking at that range, 1.7 to 2.4 grams. But start off just trying to hit that 90 grams. Start from there and then go on from there. And then the other two that are really important are magnesium and vitamin D. So magnesium helps in protein synthesis. So again, that kind of ability of the body to process the protein you're taking in from your diet to help muscle maintenance. Research shows peri and postmenopause women, and again, a reminder that menopause is the day that you have not had a period or a cycle in 12 months. So literally, that's one day. Before that, you're peri. After that day, you're post. And it shows that supplementation may be protective for bone health and cardioprotective benefits. Again, mostly you can get it from your diet. So nuts, almonds, bananas, black beans, brown rice, cashews, spinach seeds, and whole grains. So as long as you've got that in your diet, you're okay. But you can take, if you're not sure, take a really good dose, a really good quality dose, 310 to 320 milligrams per day. And I'll talk about quality of your vitamins actually at the end of this. And then vitamin D. So we all know probably from a number of articles around this that vitamin D is also from sunshine. So getting outdoors is really important, and it plays a pivotal role in calcium absorption, regulation of the immune system, and muscle and bone function. So again, obviously, straight away, when you're talking about bone, it's got to be good for menopausal women. And as we age, studies are showing that our vitamin D levels decrease, with the highest rate of vitamin D deficiency in postmenopausal women. So linked with a risk of heart disease, stress fractures, muscle pain, and inflammatory injuries. Dietary sources, again, eggs, excuse my typo, mushrooms, milk, oily fish. So you can see a repeating pattern here around the dietary sources probably. So recommended dose, IU stands for International Unit, 600 daily, age 13 to 70, and then plus 70, 800. But you must consume it with a serving of fat for that to be, your body to be able to take that. And that I'm going to have to come back to collagen, but they're the main things. So in summary, most of the stuff you're getting through your diet, if you're eating your diet, eating enough, a macronutrient dense diet. So that's not just important for in terms of weight maintenance and weight loss. It's also, as you can see, really important for your health. Studies, I think, are definitely showing that creatine supplementation is worth it. Your protein is worth it, as you all know, because you're all tracking your protein. So probably realize how difficult that is to get in. And then your magnesium and vitamin D, that really depends on your diet. You should be getting it through your diet mainly, and you possibly don't really need to add a supplement. In terms of your quality of your vitamins and your supplements, you really do need to be thinking twice about going to somewhere like Holland or Barrett and those kind of high street stores. If you need to look at the ingredients in those, some of those have fillers. So you're looking really at more of a high-end health store or online. BioCare, for instance, are a really good company. Those kind of things, and look at the ingredients. So if they've got emulsifiers, bulking agents, anything like that, then you want to avoid that because they're not a good quality. And that's it. So have any of you got any questions around that. Has it made you think that you would take a creatine supplement, for instance, or maybe you've not had enough, you've not been sufficiently tracking your protein and now would? So any questions around that subject, or in fact anything else? So Sarah, you're saying you're trying to have a protein shake daily. Just definitely, yeah, get that in. So if you're trying and feeling like that's difficult to do, an idea is just set it the same time every day. I always recommend people have it between 2 and 4. That's often when we start feeling the most tired, bored at work, finding work really hard, and that is actually normally a sign of hunger. So that can be a really good time to have it. If you're exercising a lot, lifting lots of weights, then that 20 to 40-minute window after exercise is also really recommended. So the best uptake. Can you have too much? So someone's asking, Rachel, can you have too much of supplementation? Yes, you can. So you really want to be sticking to the recommended doses. So check your diet first. Your diet should be first port of call. And then if you're not sure, then you should be supplementing, but only according to the doses. So I would recommend that you track what you're taking, your nutritional intake first, 2 to 3 weeks. And then if you're feeling like you're missing something, then it can be worthwhile. So another really good way of figuring out whether you're not getting enough is also to track how you're feeling. So if you're typically feeling like you haven't got any energy, for instance, and that can be an indication of that you might need a supplementation. But you've got to balance that with also understanding whether you're actually getting enough sleep and whether it's hormone related. So I really think the best port of call is you first, as with anything, you just track the basic simple thing is to track your nutrition and check that that's right. One of the dangers I think with supplementation, particularly around menopausal, perimenopausal women, particularly now because it's become such a kind of a buzz thing, and it's become, menopausal, perimenopausal women have become such a marketing a market that people are making money from. So you just have to be a little bit careful about just thinking, if I take that supplement, then I'm ticking a box and therefore that's good for me. It's going to help me do all these things, when actually, first and foremost, you want to be creating these changes through the simple things like eating well and exercising well and getting outdoors. So Brenda, yeah. Plus it's flavored, yeah, the creatine. So yeah, you do want to look for a good source, a healthy source, best quality creatine. I'm not going to recommend any because I think it's up to you to go and find the source that's best for you. But do look at the ingredients. So yeah, I would avoid anything with additives in there. And the best form of the creatine, as I say, I don't know whether you took a monohydrate or the micronized version. So studies that have been done are around the monohydrate, not the micronized version. So I hope that's useful. If there's any other questions also just about your program, whether there's something that you're struggling with or anything else, you can ask that in the chat box, or come on and just ask, unmute yourself. Be useful, great. So yeah, hopefully that's been useful and given you some ideas for looking into and thinking about maybe looking into that creatine. I would definitely say get your strength and conditioning consistent before you start thinking about supplementation. If you've just started coaching with me, I don't think you need to worry about it right now. I think you think about that in a couple of months. If you've been training for a while and you've gone onto barbells and you're lifting heavy, then I think your creatine can be definitely a helpful addition. So brilliant. So thanks for joining, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you on the next weekly call.